where you can set the password scope. All right, there we go. So we got the right system times. We got the right host name. Good stuff there. Okay. Also, we are running a domain controller. And I realize that the domain controller does act as a DNS server, and that DNS server is required to make the Windows AD magic happen. So you know what? I am also going to go to my DHCP pool. Here we go, on LAN 6, on port 6, sorry. And I am going to make sure we're passing out the right DNS server. All right. So here it's going to be 10, 10, 1, 10, and that's our domain controller. And that way, you know, we do not have to, we don't have to do that ourselves. So our DHCP clients will be able to find the right one. So we'll test that here in just a second. So, yay! Okay, there we go. Not that big of a deal. And also, guys, I've been using the free VMs in our lab environments just because, you know, I want to make sure that whatever I do on these videos, you can do with the minimum effort. But you know what? I'm studying for my exam, and I sure hope I don't get any dupe licenses here. But I'm going to drop a license file. So if you are using the VMs in a virtual environment, if you're using the FortiGates in a virtual environment, the license files are required, all right, to drop a license on them. And if you guys do spend a lot of money with Fortinet, your Fortinet sales rep, I have heard of people, and you know, don't hold me against this, but I've heard of people getting licenses thrown at them just to try out in their own virtual environment. So it never hurts to ask your sales rep if they have like a temporary license, like maybe a 90-day license or something that you can actually try out the FortiGuard services. So, but I'm going to drop one here in class, and hopefully it's hopefully it's licensed, so I can start using some of these features. All right, so here we go. So to drop a license, all right. You know what? I believe that's actually, is it here? They always change this on me. Or is it in firmware? It might be in firmware. Let's take a look. All right, well, that's to upload the firmware. So it has to be somewhere here. Dashboard. You know what? I bet you anything I had to do the ellipse. No, that wasn't it. View details in FortiGuard. Right there. Ah, there you are, man. FortiGate VM license. There we are. See, yeah, isn't that weird? It has its own little pane there. Yeah, so you don't get that in the normal one. So here I am. I'm going to be dropping a license file, and it will reboot the thing. So let me just make sure I pick a license here and cross my fingers it doesn't come back up with a dupe license error. I don't think these should be in production anywhere. Anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and let that reboot, and I'm going to see it happening if I go ahead and hop onto my console port, and hopefully that will take over and come back as licensed. And then once it does, I'll go ahead and back up the configuration file, and we'll call it a day. So now something else that I should talk about. So the FortiGate will license the VMs according to their resources. So the beefier the FortiGate, the more of a beefier license you have to purchase. So something to consider if you are going to use your FortiGates in a virtual environment. You also do lose out on that ASICs aspect of the FortiGates if you use VMs, but that's the whole point of a hypervisor. I'm going to do a get system status here. Oops. Oh, there we go. Beat me to it. So, alright. I'll still do it anyways. Get system status. So as you can see, our license is available. We can now up our FortiGate to 248 because that's what our license allows. And I'm actually going to do that right now. So I'm going to do an execute shutdown. And in GNS3, all we have to do once that power is off is right click this bad boy once we get the red. There we go. And we'll go to configure, and we're just going to change this to 248. 2048. There we go. Yeah, you know, we can use a little more beef on our FortiGate. All right. And then we'll go ahead and start her back up. What? And then once that boots up, I'll go ahead and I'll back up the config. It all will be right with the world. So, and honestly, guys, there's a couple other ways that you can back up the configuration. I won't do it here because I only got a couple of hours before I go and take my exam. But you can schedule it to where it like backs up every single time you log out of the FortiGate, and you could always script it too. So, you know, in other words, have some kind of cron job or something like that that goes out and runs the appropriate CLI commands when you need to. So to get it out on a schedule. So, all right, let's see if that's booted up. Perfect. And we now have a licensed FortiGate to play with. So, now it's going to hang here, by the way, because once it's licensed, it does HTTPS redirect automatically. So we should get a cert error here. Yeah. So, all right. Maybe someday I'll create a private CA. Here we are. All right. Now we're going to log in. And Mr. FortiDuck tells me, hey, Devin, guess what? You better go and back up your configuration. So, sure, we can do that. All right. And it looks like I picked a crappy license to use. Oh man, seriously, did I pick one of our ones that we're not using in our class? I think I did. Oh man. All right, not too bad. Well, it's actually horrible. So the license was good. The version wasn't. Let me try dropping another license here. You know what? I'll actually do that off camera. You guys don't need to see me do that twice. Anyways, that was my bad. But let's say that we're here and we're ready to back up our config. Okay, so if your FortiGate has a hard drive, by the way, you can do revisions. Let me talk about that in a second here, but I'm just going to hit backup. And normally, you know, you can do it encrypted, but really, in my humble opinion, everything's hashed anyways. So unless you need that level of security, in my opinion, that's usually not necessary. At least that's just for me. But I also work in an academia lab environment. So, but once we hit OK, there it is. All right. It's just downloaded automatically. Didn't even prompt me. And then I can go and store that somewhere securely, like on a share or something like that. But if you guys are just making revisions, you can actually use this revision board. And what's nice about this is it gives some kind of level of accountability here. And so if I say something like FortiDuck reminded me to snapshot the basic config, it will make a stamp of that configuration file, who did it, the date, and why. All right. And what's nice about this is that there's a level of accountability and a config file for each revision. And then after that, you can also do things like view the details. You can view the running configuration there. Isn't that cool, right? That really helps with scripting. And then if you have two of them, all right, you can even run the diff between the two and see the differences. Okay, so but just remember though that this does not this does not store it off of the FortiGate. So in other words, you'll still have to do it the long way if you want to get it off of the FortiGate. Okay, guys? So just something to let you know. All right, but that's how you do it. And this way, it's off the device. All right. So because if your FortiGate fails, you lose all of these config files because they're being stored on the hard drive. Okay. So, anyways, but revisions are cool. Use them, love them, learn them. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next set of videos. Bye. right? So Mr.